The radio crackled in the piercing silence of the early morning. The clock read 3:17 when the final order echoed through the Core Operations Center, Special Operations and Resources Command. The cold lights of the base reflected off the bulletproof vests as the elite troops inspected each piece of equipment with almost ritualistic precision. They knew this would be no ordinary mission. High on the hill of the Uro Negro complex, two drug lords controlled one of the most violent and lucrative drug trafficking networks in the city. The mission: to capture or neutralize Rafael Rafa, the strategic brain of the faction, and Marcelo Cello Almeida, his brother and cruel executioner, responsible for a series of executions and confrontations with the police. What few at headquarters knew, however, was that one of the leaders of the operation was Captain Lucas Almeida, an impeccable elite police officer with a history of surgical operations, and that Cello was not just another target. He was his younger brother, blood of his blood. The city was about to witness a relentless hunt where justice, loyalty, and survival would collide with devastating force. And if you want to follow every step of this tense story, full of twists and impossible choices, subscribe to the channel now. Activate the bell so you don't miss any episode of this operation that will keep you hooked from beginning to end. Come along on this mission. The military police general slid the dossier across the table. Lucas leafed through the documents coolly. Aerial photos of the complex, profiles of the two targets, heavy weapons plantations hidden among alleys and shacks. Operation Phoenix. You lead, Captain. It's a move to make books or end careers. Lucas nodded, his jaw clenched. He recognized the face on Cello's file. The drug dealer's empty, relentless gaze was the same gaze that years before had asked him for help at the kitchen table of his childhood home. Behind the scenes at the base, the troops were putting together a plan: infiltration at 4:45 a.m. with air support and armored vehicles, division into 3 fronts. The atmosphere was tense. The agents knew that the alleys of the complex were a living maze, where every corner could hide a sniper. The convoy left the base at 4:12 a.m., 4 armored vehicles and 2 helicopters. Inside the armored vehicles, the silence weighed more than steel. Breathing was muffled in their helmets, eyes fixed on their rifles. Lucas mentally reviewed the route. He knew where his brother might be. Intelligence indicated a command point hidden under an internet cafe at the top of the hill. As the armored vehicle drove up the uneven asphalt, Lucas remembered the last time he had seen Cello outside of the police records. It had been 7 years ago when he had tried to get his brother out of the world of crime. A failure that would now cost him dearly. On the radio, Sergeant Noguera broke the silence. Alpha Team, ready for landing. Estimated arrival in 7 minutes. Lucas closed his eyes for a second. It was now. The landing was quick. Boots thudded hard on the dirt floor. Tactical flashlights cut through the darkness as teams took up positions. Helicopters hovered overhead, the sound of their blades vibrating like a warning to the entire favela. The police arrived. The first shot rang out at 4:51 a.m., an isolated rifle shot coming from a ledge 80 meters away. The trigger for a confrontation that would turn that morning into a battlefield. The favela woke up in panic. Residents ran through alleys, screams and gunshots mixed with the sound of tactical radios. Bravo team advanced on the east side, while Lucas, at the head of the Alpha, led the raid through the main alley. At the Central Command, Major Livia updated the situation in real time, passing on information from thermal cameras and drones. Captain Almeida, intense movement at point 2, possible location of Marcelo Almeida confirmed. Lucas's blood ran cold. He knew there was no turning back. 05:38. The measured breathing inside the helmet, the cold cutting through the sweat on the back of his neck. The Captain Lucas Almeida. He raised his clenched fist. The troops froze. His eyes were fixed on the entrance to the internet cafe, the last stronghold before the fortress where Marcelo and Rafael controlled the drug trade. With the 3-tap signal on the shoulder, Alpha Team fanned out. The steel door fell with the dull roar of the hydraulic ram. smoke, and shrapnel filled the air. The first shots echoed in the narrow corridor. Short, controlled shots. Core training showed in every movement, a tactical ballet. Lucas entered last, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. At the bottom, a half-open metal trapdoor. Without hesitation, he went down. The basement was stuffy, saturated with the smell of gunpowder, sweat, and cocaine. In the center, Marcelo Almeida, his blood brother, the head of the faction. He was wearing pants, a black tactical vest, a beige shortened FAL slung over his shoulder, and a pistol in his hand. His dark, cold eyes met Lucas's with a lopsided smile. "Have you finally come to get me, brother?" Lucas didn't answer. Shoulders square, gun steady. The protocol was clear. "You are surrounded. Drop that weapon and surrender." Cello tilted his head slightly, his eyes narrowing. "You know I've never been one to lower my head, Lucas." The tension was thick. The two of them stood still, measuring distances like seasoned hunters. Cello shot first. Lucas turned to the side, but the bullet tore through the fabric of his vest and grazed the side of his abdomen. The impact made the captain fall to one knee on the ground, but his hand did not shake. In response, Lucas accurately shot Cello in the right shoulder, causing his brother's pistol to fall to the ground. They both knew there was no more room for clean capture. Cello didn't hesitate. With his left hand, he pulled a flashbang grenade from his belt and threw it into the corner of the room. The deafening bang and intense light filled the room. Lucas, trained for situations of temporary blindness, instinctively sought shelter. When his vision returned, Cello was no longer there. The trap door was open. Marcelo had fled. 05:59. Outside, the radio crackled. "Captain, lost contact, status." Lucas pressed his gloved hand against the side of his abdomen. Blood was slowly leaking out, staining his uniform. Even though he was injured, his mind was operating on automatic. He stood up, his movements precise, and answered in a cold voice. "Target 1 has evaded. I am in pursuit. Minor injury. Alpha team maintains perimeter containment." From the top of the hill, rifle fire and grenade blasts echoed. "Bravo, team still fighting Raphael's men." But now, Lucas wouldn't delegate this hunt to anyone else. It was between him and Marcelo. He walked up the narrow alleys of the Uro Negro complex, his eyes scanning every alley, every staircase, the escape routes that he knew. Well, because he had grown up there alongside Cello. 06:22, the hill woke up to the smell of gunpowder and the creaking of vehicles. Radio communication between the teams created a siege. But Lucas isolated himself. He knew how Marcelo thought. He knew he would never escape by the main route. He knew underground passages, hidden alleys, escape routes that weren't on the intelligence maps. And Lucas knew each one of them. With the wounds sealed with gauze and tactical tape, he continued alone, the rifle strapped to his shoulder, the pistol on his thigh. There was no room for hesitation. 06:47. On top of the slab of the old Almeida family house, Lucas found fresh tracks. Footprints in the concrete dust, marks from the soles of tactical boots, a pattern Cello used to wear. The sun was beginning to rise, painting the sky orange and leaving the hill with tones of earth and rust. The sirens and gunshots faded in the distance. He approached the metal gate, locked, padlock broken from the inside. With a precise kick, Lucas opened a path. The room was empty, only the marks of a forgotten childhood, the rusty bicycle, old photos of his mother, a team jersey hanging on the wall. Lucas's heart didn't waver. Training stifled any emotion. On meat, a handwritten note in Marcelo's handwriting. "Don't run after me, brother. Next time I won't miss. Cello." Lucas calmly folded the note, put it in his pocket, and reloaded the rifle's magazine. Now it was personal. Now it was hunt between brothers. 07:15. The radio whispered reports. Raphael captured. Zone 3 pacified. Roads cleared. The official operation was wrapping up, but Lucas did not communicate his whereabouts. He exchanged his combat uniform for civilian clothes from the reserve vehicle. He would infiltrate the hill alone, without the weight of the corporation. Manhunt. He had one last mission. Bring it in or shoot it down. As Lucas disappeared into the alleys, Corps Base received only an incomplete report. Nogueira, an experienced Alpha Sergeant, noticed the absence. "Where is the captain?" Silence. Major Livia read the note found by Nogueira. She knew. She wouldn't report it to higher command. The protocol was different now. The hunt was on, but it was a family war. 0746. The hill seemed asleep, but Lucas knew. Cello never let his guard down. He moved in absolute silence through the alleys, the Glock in his hand like an extension of his arm. Each alley was a childhood memory. Each curve hid a risk. At Beco de Mangueira, he stopped. The manhole cover was slightly dislodged, an old escape route. Lucas went down. The smell of damp and rust rose strongly. The underground passage wound beneath the hill, with tunnels connecting strategic points. That's where the ambush took place. Out of nowhere, two silhouettes jumped out of the shadows, two of Cello's trusted men who had escaped from the first operation, both armed with pistols and machetes. Lucas didn't hesitate. Two precise shots, one in the center of the mass of the first, the second in the femur of the other. The efficiency was surgical, but it was a distraction. Behind him, Cello emerged from the shadows, a Taurus PT-92 in his hand. The dry click of the gun pointed at the back of Lucas's head. "I told you it was better not to follow me, brother." Lucas didn't turn his face away. "You should know I don't back down." Cello hesitated. His fingers wavered for a second on the trigger. That second was enough. Lucas turned his body, dodging the arm and applying a quick arm lock. The weapon fell to the ground and the two crashed into the tunnel wall. Fists and elbows exchanged with restrained violence. A dry and brutal fight. This was no street fight. This was a fight between experienced operators. In the midst of the fight, Cello slipped back and disappeared again into the darkness of the tunnel. Lucas, still panting, picked up the PT-92 from the ground and emptied the magazine. Nothing. Marcelo had escaped again. Flashback. 15. Years earlier, Black Gold Complex, 2009. Two teenagers were racing their bikes in the same alley that now smelled of blood and gunpowder. Lucas was the oldest, always with an attentive, protective eye. Marcelo was the restless, the bold one, the one who would accept any bet, any fight. On the roof of the house, the mother of the two was sewing clothes while shouting at them to stop taking risks. The father? His father had already fallen years before, victim of a confrontation that no one really remembered anymore. The difference was clear from early on. Lucas followed the line of discipline. Marcelo dove into the world of easy adrenaline and dirty money. But one thing has always been clear. Neither of them backed down. Ever. 0827. Lucas climbed to the surface through the hatch next to the old futsal court. The sun was now burning brightly, but the hill still maintained the eerie silence after the police operation. He received a signal via radio. "Captain, Target Rafa confirmed that Cello is going to Favela de Serra in the West Zone. He has support there." Nogueira's voice was firm. Lucas didn't answer. He knew what it meant. It was Marcelo's last line of defense. If he crossed the Serra border, it would be impossible to hunt him down without a new warrant or a new operation. Bureaucracy that would take weeks. Lucas adjusted the holster on his waist. He had less than 2 hours to resolve the matter. Definitely. 0902. On the border between Ouro Negro and Serra, an abandoned warehouse served as the faction's warehouse. Lucas invaded the place without backup. The place was empty, but organized, typical of Marcelo. Surveillance cameras, prepared escape route, ammunition boxes and light weapons. In the center, a wooden table with an old cell phone vibrating. He answered. Cello's voice was calm, even amused. "I always said you were the smartest in the family, Lucas, but I'm the fastest. I'm already far away. If you want to catch up with me, you know where to find me. Ask time." The call dropped. Lucas didn't react. He just wiped the sweat from his forehead and checked his vest. He knew where the end of this story would be. 0951, Old Dry Valley Quarry, faction war zone. The place was open, barren, with rusty containers scattered around and piles of rubble. Lucas arrived first. He positioned himself tactically, looking for high points, cover, exit routes. It was like setting up a battlefield. At 10:07, Marcelo appeared, alone. No men, no vest, just the old pistol on his belt and the golden chain around his neck, the same one he had worn since he was a teenager. He raised his hands. "Enough, brother. Just you and me. Last time." Lucas looked at him from afar. The distance was 20 meters, 7 kilometers each side wind, little coverage, clean shot, but he didn't pull the trigger. The war between brothers was about to end, one way or another. 10:09, Old Vale Seco Quarry. The sun reflected off the grey stones. The wind whistled through the abandoned containers. Lucas kept his sights fixed on Marcelo's chest. The scope's reticle swayed in time with his breathing, controlled, precise. But the coldness of protocol could not erase the ancient echo of their mother's voice. "Take care of your brother, Lucas." Marcelo approached, slowly, empty-handed now. "Do you know what hurts the most, brother? It's not you being there. It's not you hunting me. It's knowing that I became what I swore I would never be, and you became what you always dreamed of. But I can't. Go back." Lucas didn't answer. He lowered the rifle, leaving it hanging from the sling on his chest. Sakua Glock. Distance now, 10 meters. Marcelo smiled from the corner of his mouth. "If I stop now, they'll kill me tomorrow. You know that. I can't give myself up, Lucas. You know that too." Their eyes met. No tears, no pleading. The operator's coldness met the bandit's suicidal pride. Marcelo pulled the pistol from his waistband. Lucas already had his eye on the hand. 2 shots. The first one hit Marcelo's shoulder, making his arms swing. The second, center of mass, stuck in the sternum. Marcelo fell to his knees. The quarry floor absorbed the heavy body, dust rising. Lucas approached with calm steps, the gun still pointed. Marcelo coughed up blood, his eyes fixed on his brother's. With a half-smile, he spoke softly. "You never wavered, did you? You were always stronger than me." Silence. Lucas crouched down beside the body, pulled the golden chain from around his brother's neck, and put it in his pocket. I didn't say anything. He didn't close Marcelo's eyes. The mission was over. 11:38 a.m. Base from Corps. Lucas arrived alone. His uniform was dirty with dust and blood. He delivered the handwritten report to Major Livia's office. Objective report. Cold. Without emotion. Marcelo Almeida, local drug trafficking leader, shot after armed confrontation. Death at the scene. Seizure of military equipment. Area pacified. Nothing about the brother. Nothing about the personal hunt. Nogueira approached. He looked at the captain, trying to read any cracks in the steel facade. Lucas just nodded once and walked away. 13-12, Irajá Cemetery. Only 2 men were present at Marcelo's anonymous burial. Lucas in black, hands in his pockets, and Nogueira in respectful silence. The coffin was lowered without prayers, without flowers. Lucas took the golden chain out of his pocket and threw it into the grave. He turned around without looking back. Nogueira asked as they walked, "Is everything okay, Captain?" Lucas replied without turning his face, "Operation closed, Sergeant." 1 week later, Lucas was back in the Corps helicopter. New names, new targets, new mission. The open side door let the cold wind cut into his face. The radio crackled with orders for the next raid. Sergeant Nogueira nearby adjusted the equipment. Lucas checked the magazine, locked the gun, and fixed his gaze on the horizon. There was no room for ghosts. The war waited for no one. No one ever knew that Captain Lucas Almeida buried his brother with his own hands. No one ever heard a word from him about that hunt. He remained the cool, efficient, incorruptible operator, but every time he got off the helicopter, with the rifle pressed against his chest, his right thumb would unconsciously slide over the scar on his abdomen, the reminder of Marcelo's shot. It was just a reflex. Only he knew. If this story has kept you hooked so far, leave a like. It really helps the channel to continue. bringing content like this, based on facts with emotion and raw reality. And comment below, what would you do if you were in Captain Lucas's place? Would you have pulled the trigger, or would you try to save your own brother? There's a lot of heavy story coming up. See you on the next mission.